What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Coming Clean, the show that helps you build unstoppable confidence, live your potential, and achieve your goals. I'm Paige Hathaway, and today we are going to talk about something that we have all experienced on some level. I mean, there's different levels, but we definitely, every single one of us, you, me, Lambert, we have all felt rejection. Maybe you didn't get that job that you wanted, or you were turned down by your crush, or you were told that skill set that you have just wasn't what they were looking for. I mean, there's so many different ways that you can be rejected, and it can feel extremely disappointing. You can easily, knock down your self-confidence, think, what's wrong with me? What did I do wrong? Your self-esteem could just go down the drain. However, if we start to reframe how we take rejection, we can turn it into success. I am living proof of this. I have been rejected numerous times on my journey to be a fitness entrepreneur, and here I am. So dealing with rejection in a healthy way is so important for our own growth, both personally and just to find success in that field. And actually, there's just a lot of different aspects in our life that it can affect. So short story, when I was on my journey to basically be where I am today, for the most part, one thing I did when I was trying to become a fitness model, influencer, whatever you want to call it, is I reached out to so many publications to try to get my name out there. I wanted to, I thought that being in a magazine would help me achieve my goals. So, obviously magazines were knocking on my door. So I'm a firm believer, if opportunities don't knock, you build your own door. So long story short, with tons of outreach, Women's Health brought me back. We arranged a meeting. I went up there and they were like, "Are you with a modeling agency?" Of course, I was not. I was living in Oklahoma and didn't even know what the heck a modeling agency was at that time. But they actually sent me to an agency, Women's Health. And that agency was called Wilhelmina. It was one of the top agencies in New York City, Wilhelmina Models. And lo and behold, they rejected me as soon as I basically sat down in one of the chairs. I remember this guy named Topher was the guy that talked to me, and he just, kind of sent me away. I was never going to model for Wilhelmina. I was extremely discouraged, and I just left feeling so empty-handed. And moral of the story is I could have gone home. I could have sat in my sorrows for all the reasons why they said that I wasn't good enough. Or, like I did, I could use that criticism that they gave me and make those quote unquote weaknesses my strength. And that is exactly what I did. So let's talk about rejection, because it is inevitable. We are going to be rejected. Can you think of the last time you were rejected? I know I can think of so many times, just narrow down one. How did rejection make you feel? For me, I know that it made me feel lonely, jealous, guilty, shame, embarrassed, kind of angry, why didn't I get that? Or why didn't that happen for me? I felt sad. After you were rejected in that certain thing, did you try that thing again? Or did you give up? Now, I don't want to sit here and just dwell on the thing that made you feel rejected. That's not what I want to do at all. But first, okay, let's just switch it and think of something that you were successful at. How did that make you feel? I know that success is defined differently by everyone, but you might have felt accomplished. I know when I succeed at something, I'm super happy and proud of myself. I'm more self-confident. I'm more positive because I'm succeeding. I've experienced lower stress if I'm successful, and I felt so much more resilient. So lo and behold, rejection is a part of the process. It's a part of life. A lot of times if we are going to be optimistic and we're going to strive for something outside of our comfort zone, we are not going to succeed all the time, especially if it's our first time. Rejection is oftentimes associated with a lot of bad feelings, like we talked about a second ago: doubt, awkwardness, hurt, fear. And all of these feelings can make us limit ourselves, including trying to achieve that thing again. However, and I promise you this, however, all of those feelings will pass with time. You can use rejection to help you grow and to help you flourish even more than you would have if you would have succeeded that first time around. So, how do we handle rejection? Let's dive into this, because if we are going to thrive from rejection, then we need to know how to deal with rejection. So first off, we always need to remember that you can only control you. We can only control ourselves. And that is something that we need to remember no matter the situation, rejection or not. You can only control yourself. You cannot control the outside forces, the things that you cannot control. So when we experience rejection, how do we respond? I've learned that it is easy to take rejection personally. For example, let's say a business that decided not to hire you is taking account many factors outside of your resume. Maybe your friends didn't invite you to go out because they know you hate clubs and loud music and whatever. Maybe that guy that you asked out in class might already be talking to someone. So maybe it really had nothing to do with you at all. So right away, let's not try to take it personally, because there were so many factors outside of you that it potentially could be. We are absolutely allowed to give ourselves space to feel our feelings, and we definitely should. So if you're feeling some sort of way from feeling rejected, it's normal. And we need to also keep in mind realistic contributing factors, many of which we might not even be aware of or have control of. So number one, let's remember that communication is key. So for all of my overthinkers out there, including myself, it is always better to ask simple questions rather than spiraling out of control with your own thoughts. Like a quick, hey, can you clear up why you said this to me, or why this is the way it is? A simple, explanation can help with a lot of your anxiety. Remember not to be accuse people. Even if your feelings are hurt, find out the facts first. This can help you quickly and accurately interpret the rejection, and it works in almost every single situation. So maybe like a follow-up email, asking the job, like, oh, can I have some feedback? Why was I rejected? A text to your friend asking why they didn't include you, asking back for some feedback or some notes if possible after you failed to try out, can help you deal with it so much better. Also, another reason asking for feedback that I feel is important is because that person or those people doing their rejection might not realize that it's actually really impacted you. So it's always okay to just ask for clarification. I mean, if they're going to reject you, then it's only fair for them to tell you why. Is my opinion. So another good reason to ask yourself when you're rejected, another good question to ask yourself when you're rejected, and when you're feeling, some sort of way, is like, what is the root of these feelings that I'm feeling? Because it is important to deal with rejection by figuring out what you're feeling. Like, why am I feeling like this? And most importantly, we need to figure out how to resolve it. So rejection sometimes goes back to feeling like we don't belong. And if that's the case, my best recommendation if you just feel like down and out, like you don't belong, just talk to some of your close friends, your family, and center yourself in a space where you do feel like you belong. So having them like kind of there to encourage you and just bring around that positive energy will just automatically lift your spirits. Earlier when I shared my rejection experience, I went to New York and I was rejected and I was sent home and I came back feeling just like a failure. I felt like I wasn't good enough and I definitely took it so personal and I wanted to sit in my sorrows. I never again wanted to put myself out there again. I just really never wanted to feel like that again. When you feel rejected, you just feel all these like negative emotions and something you just never want to replay. But instead, what I did was I took their constructive criticism and I built up all the things that they rejected me for. So, what exactly is good rejection? I really, truly hope from this episode, you're realizing that if you've ever felt rejected or you've been rejected, that you are not alone, because rejection, is a part of the human experience of life. And I'm sure that that person rejecting you has also been rejected as well. I bet if you ask anyone, if they have a story that they can think of like right now about their own personal rejection, every single person can think of something like probably on the snap of the finger. Like I asked Lambert right before this, like, Lambert, have you ever felt rejected? And he was like, I've been rejected from living in an apartment. And I was like, Jason, have you ever felt rejected? And he goes, in the 9th grade, he thought about the 9th grade. He was like, I didn't make the basketball team and I was rejected. So every single person has a story. So, try someone, ask your spouse, like, have you ever felt rejected? Ask your best friend, have you ever felt rejected? They have also felt rejected. Most very successful people at some point have experienced rejection. So don't think that you're alone because I guarantee you that they have felt some type of rejection. And if they have given up and never, ever, ever try that thing again, I promise you the world would look a lot different today. I wanted to name a few examples of like famous people that we know that have been rejected. Like Oprah was fired from a co-anchor position at the age of 22. Stephen King was rejected over 30 times before a publisher picked them up. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. Not that I should compare myself to Michael Jordan and Oprah, but I was rejected, and I have been rejected in so many different occasions throughout my life, but especially in my career. And if I would have given up, if I would have went back to Oklahoma and never ever pursued my career again, then I would not be talking to you right now on a podcast. I can guarantee you that. And also, not even people, but a ton of ideas and inventions have been rejected through history, like some crazy ones like cars. Can you imagine that right after the first car failed attempt that they never would have tried with other cars again? Like we would probably not have cars. Another thing is the speakies, which is like movies before speaking actors. It used to be silent movies. Could you imagine if we still listen to silent movies to this day? Personal computers were also rejected by major companies. So think about it. Rejection gives us opportunity. We can then reevaluate what went wrong. We can reevaluate our wants, our goals, desires, like the thing that didn't work. We can redo it and make it better. We can look at our methodology and take a better approach. We can help it to gain like a better perspective or to adjust the necessary things that we need to do to succeed the next time. And it can make us more resilient because when we experience rejection, although it is never easy, but again, it's going to happen and it happens, we learn how to cope with it. We move on and we become so much stronger. This in return helps us take bigger risks. And as we all know that saying, greater risk, greater reward. It also helps us emotionally mature. So rejection, whether we like it or not, it can truly be our greatest teacher. We can take the approach of, okay, well, I got rejected. That sucks. But what can I improve for next time? How can I build on the notes or the feedback that I received? Because remember, we are going to ask for feedback. So when we ask, why did this not succeed? Why did I get rejected? Then we can use that criticism, and you will gain knowledge to be better for the next time. Even though it hurts, it truly hurts to the core to be rejected, we need to ask ourselves, how can I not take this personally? Another great thing that we need to figure out is, how can I bounce back from this disappointment? Because I'm going to feel disappointed. Well, for one thing, I'm not going to give up, and I'm going to have that resilient mindset, because this is going to make me resilient. This is going to make me stronger. And if I truly want this thing that I'm trying to obtain, then there has to be another option, a better option. And that if I give up, then guess what? There's going to be no option. Last but not least, you can ask yourself, how do I deal with unresolved issues? Like, for example, if someone rejects you and then doesn't answer your email back, or they ghost you. So as we wrap up this episode, we need to remember these things. So number one is, we need to remember, rejection from others does not mean we need to reject ourselves. Rejection in ourselves means no negative self-talk, no, internalizing these bad feelings tied to this rejection. We need to quit making assumptions about the reason behind rejection. And we do not catastrophize the situation. Throughout all of this, and just life in general, it is so important to check in with ourselves, because constant negative self-talk, self-emotions can have long-term effects on our personalities. Studies have actually shown that continued exposure to rejection negatively affects our levels of generosity and compassion for ourselves and also for others. So, a food for thought. Keep all of this in mind when you are the one doing the rejecting. If you could have a bigger impact on someone, then you need to realize that maybe there's a better way to approach this. I like to do the positive, negative, positive technique. So you're going to say something positive, then you're going to do the rejection, then you're going to follow it up with something positive. So there's always, I feel, a better way to go about the rejection that isn't so piercing to the soul. Maybe you're complimenting a skill that they have, but unfortunately this is going to work out. But then you're saying something again positive. So you're leaving them with a positive affirmation. All right. So as we are wrapping up, I wanted to leave you guys with 5 tips for reframing rejection. So number 1 is, and this is what I like to do, I like to expect rejection. Not that I'm going to, not that you should be, or I'm going to be like pessimistic, but rejection is going to happen. It's a part of life. You never know what's going to happen. You could not be rejected and you could be rejected. You cannot always know when it will happen, but I feel like it's just better to be prepared for it. Potentially try going into something with a mindset that this might not work in my favor or have the outcome that I'm looking for, but that's okay. And something else, if it doesn't work out, is better out there waiting for me, and I just have to keep my head up. Number 2, think it through. How are you responding to rejection? Is it personal? It's okay to feel your feelings. There is no wrong way to feel, your feelings through rejection, or acknowledging them is a very important step. But confronting your feelings and diving deeper into those feelings can also help us better understand ourselves and the situation. Number 3 is learn. Take the opportunity to figure things out. We need to learn from all our experiences, including rejection. Did you receive helpful feedback? Is that feedback something that you can take and overall improve to potentially get you to where you want to be? If being rejected was an overall terrible experience, how can you take care of yourself after this feeling of rejection? For example, you could do mind mapping or journaling, and these are both effective ways to take notes and brainstorm on the topic of ideas. And always give yourself grace and be kind to yourself. Number 4, make a plan. What are the next steps you should take? What can you take away from this and potentially improve on? Do you want to still pursue this goal, which I hope you do? How are you going to do it? What's a different approach that you can take? Or what are things that you can work on to improve yourself to better set yourself up for success the next time you try it? How can you face your fears? What do you need to feel to try this again? Is that, a break, maybe friends, maybe you need to talk to someone, you need to change your approach. There's so many different things that you can kind of dissect to move forward. And last but not least, please try again. I know it can be scary to try again after you've been rejected, but if you don't do it, no one will do it for you. And if you don't try, you will never know what could have turned out if you were successful. And that what if should make it all worth it to try again. My outlook is and always has been that if it doesn't succeed and you have that burning desire to go after it, then despite rejection or setbacks, make that dream a reality. Because at the end of the day, rejection sucks, but it is a part of life, and it doesn't have to be miserable. Our attitude can make all the difference on how we handle rejection. That can literally change the trajectory of our lives. That is all from me today, you guys. Go to Apple Podcast, rate and review. And if you aren't watching this on YouTube, go to my channel and subscribe now. I love you guys so much. Thanks for listening, and I will talk to y'all next week.